Okay, my name is Adam, and what we got is a 95 Plymouth Grand Voyager. We've had it for quite a while. A few years back, about 4 or 5 years back, we had to go to a boneyard and get a rear axle for it because the axle that was in this was Swiss cheese. They're just a hollow tube in the back, and they rust out real bad, and they get holes in them. And I knew it was getting some rust holes, but I figured they'd be good enough to last. Well, I went and jacked up the rear end and managed to get it jacked up, and then I was working on the front of it, and the jack stands were just a little bit off of the knuckle onto the axle tube on the old one, and not in the middle at all. And while I was working on the front end, it collapsed. The whole axle went like this. So we went to the boneyard and got a new axle for about 90 bucks, and took it out and put it in here, and it's lasted for probably another 4 or 5 years. But the problem is it did it again. That was a really good axle. I'm not sure why it rusted out so quickly again. So it's a hassle to take it out, and the chances are of finding a good axle are slim and none in the Indiana Rust Belt. So what we decided to do was we took off, we came over here. Let me show on the other side. We decided that we would do something different. We took off the rear brake assembly on the axle, off of the axle. And the axle's still intact right now, so you can't do this if the axle completely busts in half, obviously. And so we took that off. We had to cut our U-bolts just a little bit, took off our shock absorbers. Now, you might run into your shock absorber, the rear bolt, the bottom bolt on the axle, a lot of times gets stuck. So if it doesn't come out with quite a bit of pressure on your half-inch breaker bar, don't force it. Take a oxyacetylene torch and heat up the axle where the bolt goes in. It doesn't take too much, but it'll take an oxyacetylene torch to do it. Heat that up a little bit, the axle, and have someone else slowly putting pressure on that bolt, and in just a few minutes she'll bust loose for you. So we took out the rear shock absorbers and took off this rear assembly, and then what we did is we found a 2 3/8 inch pipe that we got from metal supermarkets, and it's almost a 1/4 inch thickness on that pipe, and it's 39.5 inches long. And so we cleaned it out as best we could with a blowgun. We took a die grinder and die grinded out just as best we could, just only as far as we could get in there. Now it's narrower on each end than it is in the middle. It kind of balloons out in the middle. So if you can get it in the knuckle ends, then you're going to be good to go. So clean out those knuckle ends just as best as you can. Might have to use an air hammer to chisel out some of that scaly rust. Blow it out real good, and we just absolutely covered that pipe. We didn't chamfer the ends or anything. We just put it in straight because I didn't want the ends to be chamfered and then get rust underneath of it. So if it was going to do anything, what I wanted it to do was cut that rust out and move it forward instead of getting pinched in between the old pipe and the new pipe. So we didn't chamfer the ends on it, but we covered it with grease. And what we couldn't cover in grease, I took white lithium lube on a spray can and just sprayed the crud out of it, just as much as we possibly could. The whole can I put in there. And then we took some pieces of wood, and we took a sledgehammer, and we sledgehammered it in there, and we just kept going. We did it like this first, and then we put it in like that, and by golly, we got that in there. So what you'll need to do this job is a 2 3/8 inch diameter, outside diameter pipe, Schedule 40, I believe, is what it was, because that's almost 1/4 of an inch in thickness, and that should last for the duration of however long this is going to last. And it's 39.5 inches long. Now, I do have a MIG welder that I'm having a buddy that I could MIG this up with, but it's just flux core wire. It's just a Wellpack 100, so I don't feel real safe with that. So I'm going to have a buddy come over here just in a little bit, and he's going to bring a heavy duty welder, and he's a real good welder. And what I'm going to have him do, you want to bring that camera down? Let me clean this up a little bit. So this is the new pipe, and then in between this knuckle and the new pipe is the old pipe. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have him put a big old thing of weld that will weld together the new pipe, the old pipe, and the knuckle. We're going to weld that baby all together on both sides, and then we're going to call it good. And being covered in grease on the inside or on the outside should protect it from getting rusted out too bad on the outside. And then we'll get some kind of undercoating or some kind of greasy substance to put on the inside of the pipe to prevent rusting there, and then we should be good to go. And if this outside pipe rusts out on us, well, you know, who cares, because we got that inside pipe and it's welded to this whole knuckle here, and there's no way this is coming apart again. So I'm not recommending that, you know, this is obviously not a factory repair, but this is what we are doing. So I'm not suggesting use your own judgment, use your own caution on this. It's not something that I would necessarily do in a shop, but you know, this is what I am doing. So there's that. Thank you for listening. I hope this helps somebody out to get them by for a little bit on their otherwise really nice either Town and Country or Caravan or Grand Voyager.